Be confident, be bold, be authentic, but don't forget to take action. This is Ordinary to Badass, where our stories empower women to step into the spotlight of their own lives and pursue what they're truly passionate about. It's time to step into the arena and become more than just extraordinary. It's time to become a badass with your host, Marie Sonneman.
Welcome to Ordinary to Badass, episode number 32. In this episode, I talk with Sarah Klein. Sarah is the owner of Whole Health Labs. And in this episode, we talk about yoga, health, and a mindfulness practice. Did you know you can even have mindfulness while raising a 2-year-old? Check out this episode because I know that you're going to love it. But first, I want to tell you about a new manifesto. At the core of being a badass. Are you tired of being ordinary? Of doing what everybody else does? Of following the same boring rules? I think being ordinary is letting a problem somehow mean that you're a failure. Or letting others define you and who you are. Ordinary people, they don't grow. They don't try to think outside of the box. They are just okay with the status quo. But friend, you're listening to the Ordinary to Badass podcast. I know that you're a badass and that you're with me in fighting to become one, to be the best you that you can be. So if you want to check out the manifesto at the core of being a badass, go to www.ordinarytobadass.com. Now to the episode. Welcome to Ordinary to Badass. Whether you're ordinary or badass, I'm glad you're here. Today's guest is Sarah Klein. Sarah, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So before we go any further, I have got to ask you, do you consider yourself to be ordinary or badass?
You know, it's a funny question because I was just recently saying, so I'm 32 weeks pregnant, and I saw this meme the other day that I shared that was like, I used to be cool, but then I became somebody's snack bitch, which I have a 2-year-old and I often feel like that. Right. And, I think that it's an interesting question in the sense that in the ordinary, there can be such badassery. Mm-hmm. And I think that we live in a culture that really is so focused on a shiny perspective or a shiny outer scene through the world of social media, where we all put our best face forward and show the world that, and then think that's what a badass is. So I think that in, risk taking, in failure, in vulnerability, in stepping outside of your comfort zone, those are all badass qualities. And I think that in ordinary you can be badass. But so there's a lot of my days, even more so now as this pregnant mom of a 2-year-old, that I feel so freaking ordinary.
Yeah.
But I maybe I have some badass moments, I like to think.
So can you explain why you think in ordinary is the badass?
Yeah, again, I think it circles back on this this like life of the hero or the life of the original, or what I see so much with my clients these days is this perspective of that is within comparison, in the sense that we think that somebody else's life is so much more polished and sparkly, but at the end of the day, pain is pain, hurt is hurt, and we are all experiencing those emotions. There's not one human emotion that we personally will have that is unique to us. We will all experience them. The stories are just different. And of course, it's always the ego who likes to separate us from the whole and say, oh, my pain is worse, or my story is more badass or whatever. So I think that, recognizing, and maybe this is also just where I'm at in my life as being a mom and being in this last stage of pregnancy where there's so much greatness in the simplicity and in
Yeah.
the ordinary and in the unseen moments of life where, like the example of like the melting down 2-year-old and this really like unsexy moment where there's like vomit on you and a crying kid and you can't get out the door. And like that is so ordinary, but that also the ability to like stay calm in that moment is so badass.
Yes. No, I love that because I think that like our confidence, our badassness comes from who we are and just kind of owning who you are as opposed to trying to be like somebody else or trying to be something on the exterior. Like if you're trying to be tough or if you have to have a gun or do something to be badass, when actually it's just the ordinary things in yourself that you have to tap into.
Totally. I love it. Yes. And, I'm a big yogi and a yoga teacher, and it's a huge part of my life. And really in yoga philosophy and something that I try to always remind myself of and my students is that we're not here to change ourselves. We're actually just here to see ourselves with clarity and compassion.
Yes. And you might be able to appreciate this being a yoga teacher, but I often say like being a badass is less like Rambo and more like Buddha.
Totally.
So Sarah, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I live in Durango, Colorado. I have already said I'm approaching the stage of being a mother of two. I currently have a 2.5-year-old. And I own my own business. It's called Whole Health Lab, and I do a variety of things. So my business is kind of split into two parts, one part nutrition, one part yoga. And so the yoga side, I run yoga teacher training programs. I do health and wellness yoga retreats in a variety of locations. And then the nutrition side is all about integrative nutrition. So supporting clients to look beyond just what to eat, but also why are we eating certain things. So I have a background in psychology, and I'm actually in a program or in the development of a program for the integration of yoga and psychology. So I love yoga philosophy and how that meets modern psychology, and then also about eating psychology.
So
So that's kind of how I spend most of my time, I guess.
how did you first get into yoga?
That's a great question. So, the classic story here. I was in college, got my heart broken, life fell apart, and I found yoga. And I'll never forget walking out of the very first yoga class, not my very first yoga class, and I have a funny story I could tell on that one, but my very first yoga class in the lineage that I practice in, which is Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga. And I had a smile ear to ear, and I feel like I was like, all right, I found my home. And it almost, looking back, feels a little bit like a coming home of something that maybe I had done before many lifetimes ago or something. So yoga is really a massive part of my personal life, my professional life, and how I try to choose to live my life as well.
When you first started doing yoga, did you have this grand vision of what it would turn into? Like, did you know that you would start a business and have yoga and nutrition be a part of it?
No, of course not.
Can you
I
talk
was
about that
like
journey?
heartbroken. I was
You
like,
were what?
somebody help me. I was in college and I was completely like misbehaving and treating my body like heck and partying way too hard. But I found yoga. It again felt like this coming home. And then after college, I was like, all right, I know that this is going to be a big part of my life. So that's when I found my first teacher, Larry Schultz, where I completed my first training. And then really, I haven't looked back since. So in some ways, I guess I must have on some level have known, but the path always makes sense when you look back.
Totally. Totally. So what have been some of the hardships that you've faced along the way with your business?
With my business. Oh my God. Well, first of all, I am an entrepreneur spirit. So I do feel that owning my own business was inevitable, which I didn't know. It wasn't clear.
Right.
But as soon as I started to walk in that direction, it just made sense for my personality and my lifestyle, my goals, my dreams. But anybody who knows their own or owns their own business knows how much work, how much risk goes into it. You spend hours and hours, I mean, months of unpaid work. You take risks, financial risks, time risks, personal risks. You have to, I don't know if this is like inappropriate thing to say.
Go for it.
But I often say in the marketing world, you have to like slut yourself out there. You have to like, like be so vulnerable on, selling yourself and sharing your story. And it takes a lot of courage, and it's definitely not for everyone, but it's so rewarding. So, and I would have it no other way. My husband might disagree with me. He's like always like, how many hours you're spending? But I love it. And I get to do what I love.
So what keeps you motivated then? If you're spending a lot of hours, what keeps you going?
Well, first of all, I truly can honestly say I love what I do. Yoga is a massive piece of my heart, and I get to share it. And then the nutrition side of things, I get to watch people go through massive change. So whether it's they're meeting their health goals, they're ridding themselves of a specific disease or an ailment, they're finding more ease and lightness in their lives. The yoga is the same. Like, people truly have life-changing experiences because of this practice. And what is it? It kind of circles back on what we were just talking about, is they're coming home to themselves. They're seeing the badass in their own uniqueness, and they're tapping into their heart and out of their head. And I mean, it's such a gift to witness that. And then to have that be the front of my focus, is really motivating in my personal practice and in my personal health and well-being. And plus, I like to be able to make my own schedule.
Right. That's always nice. So what do you do to facilitate that, like getting into your heart and out of your head?
Yeah, I mean, that is yoga. So yoga is essentially, and to get into a little bit of yoga philosophy, and I think that this is something, and I like to always say this, that yoga is in its infancy here in the United States. It is brand new. And we've really hung on to, as it's kind of come over, we've really attached to the physical elements of yoga, which, don't get me wrong, they're so, so important. If your body is in pain, you're not going to be able to it's just harder. You can.
Yeah.
It's going to be much harder to get to your mind. And so we have kind of this mass perspective that yoga is these postures and its flexibility and its strength. And yes, of course it is that, but it's so much more than that. When you look at yoga philosophy, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali very clearly define what yoga is, and it's yogas, chitta, vritti, nirodha. And for those who do not know Sanskrit out there, that basically means yoga is the practice or the process of stilling the fluctuations of the mind. And when we do that, like, all of us have this tendency to live between our temples. There's this, in child psychology, they say around 7 years old, the kid starts to develop that inner dialogue. And that inner dialogue can spin on a dime. It can be all in and all out in a matter of a millisecond. It's our self-inflating for some of us and very self-defeating for others, the majority probably self-defeating. It's the chitter chatter. And when we are allowing that to rule our inner experience, then we lose touch with our intuition, we lose touch with our clarity, and we lose touch with the path of our heart. So what yoga is doing, again, yoga's chitta vritti nirodha, is stilling, finding silence, shutting up the dialogue of the mind, so that we can listen to the wisdom of the body, the heart, our intuition, etc.
So how do you bring stillness into your day when you're outside of yoga?
Yeah, good. That's like the ultimate goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
So my belief system, and this is through not just study, but also through experience, is that with consistency and not duration, this is, I think, where us Americans get a little caught up, is that we think, oh, well, okay, I'll go to yoga for like 3 hours twice a week and then I'm done. But really, I would rather have somebody do 5 minutes every single day. That consistency trains our subconscious to view the world from a different place. Now, the biology of that is absolutely fascinating. And this is kind of where a lot of my work is currently in this moment, is this integration of the science of psychology, the science of the nervous system, and what yoga philosophy has been saying. And what we're seeing in the science of the nervous system is the hot topic of the vagus nerve. And just like we go to the gym to build our muscle mass, the more that we consistently breathe evenly, so an even inhale to an exhale tones the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve has connects to almost all of the major organs of the body. And it's essentially the brake system for the nervous system. So our nervous system, the fight or flight response, gets a really bad rap. And it gets a bad rap because it's no good when it's chronically in overdrive. But if you're driving in the car, like, thank you, fight flight response, for helping me step on the brake when I need to,
Right,
or
right.
whatever it may be. So the vagus tone, which can be measured and fluctuates according to how often the person practices some kind of mindfulness-based practice, will fluctuate in our ability to turn off or put on the brakes for the nervous system. And so how, the way I look at it personally, kind of long-winded, hopefully this makes sense, but long-winded answer to that question is that with a consistent practice, and I'm very serious about consistent practice. Every single day I do something, whether it's like a 2-hour asana practice or a 5-minute meditation. Every single day I take some time for myself to consistently tone that vagus nerve, or connect to my breath, get out of my thoughts, and whether that's movements of the body or not, it depends on the day. And that consistency trains both my nervous system and my subconscious to respond, hopefully, on a good day, to stress and life is thrown at you.
So what's the difference for you from meditation, like say you do 5 minutes at home, as compared to going into the yoga studio?
So, I mean, yoga is a massive umbrella. And really, like, if we get down to the nitty gritty of it, there is no difference between a mantra. Well, there is a difference, but it's just a different technique between asana, the physical postures, pranayama, breath control, mantra, which would be chanting of some kind, and what else? Meditation. And there's so many different types of meditation. So,
but do you experience different results, like from moving your body with, like while you're kind of doing it, as opposed to if you're not moving your body when you're meditating?
Yeah, so it's a good question. In the first 5 years of my practice, I could not get to the same place with a seated meditation because of my personal nature. I am a go-go kind of person. I'm very physical in my body. And so it's taken a lot of years to be able to get to that, let's call it the yoga buzz, with a seated practice. And I think this is pretty common for a lot of practitioners. Some people might have it as the opposite experience. Again, kind of being 32 weeks pregnant right now, and this happened when I was pregnant with my son as well, as my body at this point can't get to that yoga buzz as easily, and my practice looks very, very different physically for obvious reasons. Where a chanting practice and a meditation practice has given me access to that same buzz. So, I think it's a personality thing. And we've all got to find what works for us. And that's where I really encourage people to shop around for their type of yoga, their style, their teacher. And when you find something that works, stick with it. The
Yeah.
tendency is to be like, okay, yeah, that was fun for like 2 years, but now I need something else. And it's kind of, that's our body, our mind really allowing us to go deeper into that next place. So we really want to stick with whatever we stick with, and go deep into it.
Yeah. And I liked what you said about that you weren't necessarily able to meditate like on your own without movement. And then yoga helped you do that, because I could see people thinking like, oh, I can't do yoga because I can't, meditate for that long. But actually that might be the better solution for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. So asana means to take your seat, actually. And
Oh, yeah.
this would really be for like the yogis out there, but we'll just like do the general rule that
Okay.
asana means postures. And the postures become a container to drop the mind into the present moment. And basically all the tools and the techniques of the practice are designed to hold the mind, even if it's for a millisecond, in the present moment, because really the only place that yoga can be practiced is in the present moment. And that's really the pathway into yoga, is to be able to just for a millisecond hold our mind in one place in stillness. And then over time we can start to weed through the context of the mind and say, oh wow, that's a projection, or oh, that's a story, or that's a self-limiting belief. And kind of, the topic of your podcast can circle in here, in the sense of like, when I have the space between my thoughts, and at first I can start to recognize where they are and when they're bubbling, then they lose grip on me. And so if I'm contemplating stepping into something that's super badass, and my mind starts to go, it can very quickly talk me out of it, of like, hey, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, she's better than me, her life's better, blah blah blah, whatever the heck the story is.
Right.
But if I just can give myself an exhale, drop the nervous system, and create some space between me, the seer, and the thought pattern, the scene, then I can make a more aligned decision that hopefully is coming from intuition. It's coming from our heart space. It's coming from our greater vision, our wisdom. So, those are kind of some of the lofty goals of yoga.
Yeah. So
and it does us. That's a cool thing. It's like you do it with consistency and it's gonna get ya. It works.
Yeah. We all can go down that rabbit hole of comparing ourselves to other people. And I know that you said that like sometimes just taking a deep breath or giving some space from the thought. Do you think that gets better with time? Like yes. The more that you practice or be consistent, I guess, as you were saying, but I think it's easy to take a deep breath and then be like, it didn't work, I'm done. Like what would be a solution or a thought for that?
I mean, it's just like if you're trying to run a marathon, you don't just get up and go and run a marathon. You train for a really long time and you get your body into shape and you follow a certain nutrition plan and you eat and you sleep a certain way before the race, like you prepare for it. And that's ultimately what yoga is doing, is yoga is preparing us for the real practice of life, as cliche as that sounds. And it's in the subtlety, it's in the ordinary right. moments that we really get to watch this practice. To loop back what I was saying, in the unsexy moment of the 2-year-old vomiting on you and having a massive meltdown and needing to get out of the house, like, do you flip out? Or do you take a breath, tone your nervous system because your body knows how to do that because it's been practicing that, and then respond from a grounded place instead of from a place of scatter. And so, yes, absolutely. It's the consistency. And really, when we look at the biology, of the body or the science of the nervous system, or really the science of psychology, our system is set up, sprung from this nervous system, and certain things work and certain things don't when we're in a certain state. And so the more that we train the body to ebb and flow with ease between the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system state, the more that we can use different parts of our brain. I mean, it's really fascinating because we truly are these machines, and certain buttons are turned on and certain buttons are turned off. And what yoga is ultimately doing is, again, training that subconscious to have more control over how we react. So are we responding or are we reacting?
So can you talk a little bit how nutrition, how it's important, or how that goes with yoga?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually I just did a post recently that had something along the lines of like, health is everything, but it's also nothing all at the same time, because there's so much more to life, and we can get kind of bogged down to it. And we are not these bodies and we are not these minds in so many ways, but it's our vehicle. It's our vehicle to our greatness. It's our vehicle to living the life that we want, everything that's within our dream capacity, our vision, our hopes. We need a vessel to get to that. And so we are what we eat on a deep cellular level. And it's shown through science. And so different types of foods are going to give us different energy levels. And so when we want to show up in our greatness and live a high vibrational life, a life that we're following our dreams and our passions, and we're putting our best foot forward and we're living to our potential, our health cannot be an equation in that, right? It needs to be figured out so that we aren't held back or bogged down by it, and we have the energy to really perform. So that's where, of course, like, we have to eat for energy and eat for our greater why. And I think that, in my work, and that's why I do integrative nutrition, is I find that whatever our eating issues are, whether we overeat, we eat the wrong foods, we self-sabotage ourselves because of food, or we undereat, there is a deeper lining belief system of why we're not, quote unquote, worthy of the greatness. And so if we just say, follow this meal plan, we're not getting to the root of the issue. And so that's where we can kind of use the psychology of yoga to dig into the why, so that we can get beyond these self-limiting beliefs and know that, feeding our body and caring for our body and moving our body is all a piece to this puzzle, so that we can live our best life.
So do you have a tip for somebody who's trying to eat better or eat for energy, something that they can do?
I've got lots of tips. Okay, so first and foremost, I believe in bio-individuality. What works for one person doesn't work for the next. So stop reading all the fad diets and start tracking. And if, your bowel movements are not being used at least once a day, something's off. If you have chronic fatigue, inflammation, any symptom that is occurring, what you want to do is start to track. When I eat this, I feel like this. If I don't eat this, I feel like that. And that's where, working one-on-one with somebody can be really helpful, because they can help kind of support you in navigating that. But yes, first and foremost, you got to start asking the question of what foods feed me, not my best friend, not the girl on the commercial, but what foods feed me best. And then you can start to have a clear slate. And then from there, we start to track like our energy swings and what supports our energy and what depletes our energy, and how foods can be a part of that. I think at baseline, it's fresh, real, local, simple, clean foods. Get away from the packaged stuff. Get away from the sugar. We all know that on some level, right?
Right. But then we go for easy, just grabbing what's easier, what's quick.
But here's my thing that I tell my clients all the time. That's a mindset. the packaged bar is easy, but guess what? A carrot or a cucumber can just come in your purse as simple as that Kind bar or whatever. Kind bar is not that bad, but like whatever bar you've got in there, you
Right.
know, so go for the whole foods with no ingredient list, and they can be perfectly packaged in themselves.
That's really funny. I feel like you just called me out. You didn't know it, but so like
Sorry.
no. Like I'm single, and so I don't do, and I used to be married and have stepkids and stuff, but I don't do half as much cooking, and my excuse is always like, I don't have to. I don't have to do anything. Like, so I just do the lazy way and like maybe put something in the microwave or something. But you're right. A carrot is just as simple. How did you go about bringing the nutrition into yoga? Like, how did you
Yeah,
start
it's a good
combining the two?
question. So, I mean, I was like full force, running around like a chicken with my head cut off, teaching tons of different yoga things. And then I kind of kept realizing that there were certain questions about food and diet that were popping with my clients, and I figured I could, to be completely transparent, speak yoga to more people without speaking yoga but through food. And so in my nutrition programs, whether people are aware of it or not, the yoga philosophy comes through, whether, you know, we're actually using yoga terms or not. But that philosophy and that way of life is very rooted, I think, in behavioral change. And ultimately, when you're working with people about food, you are talking about behavioral change.
I liked how you said speak yoga through food. I think that that's very unique and interesting. So I like that. Do you have like a mantra or meditation practice that you use regularly?
I do, but I can't share it. I'm sorry. It was gifted. The mantra was gifted to me, and I'm truly not supposed to share it.
how
Um,
how would somebody go about finding their mantra or something that works for them?
Let it come to you. Go. You know, it's not necessarily what you're saying. Um, and I'm a traditionalist in this. In most of my yoga world, for the most part, with some diverging. But you know, you can go online and find a mantra that works for you, and something that you is easy to remember. And it's about the consistency of it, because what it's doing is it's just simply creating a different loop, and that loop, which is a Sanskrit word, is a vibrational language. And yoga is the study of energy and moving energy within our bodies, so that vibration is opening the body and the mind. And you don't necessarily even, and I know this is hard for some people to chew, and I get why. And it's really hard for our Western mind to chew on this, but you don't necessarily even have to know what it means. Um, but what you're trying to do is, again, create, you know, the mind gets stuck in these loops, and we're trying to break that loop.
When you say your mantra, do you do it throughout the day or do you just do it when you meditate?
I have a specific meditation practice that I follow. And I do it's probably like about a 10-minute, 12-minute, I don't know, something along those lines. That section, so it starts with some pranayama work, and then the mantra comes in for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then it moves ultimately into silence.
Can you explain for your coaching, how does that work? Do you do it online, like on the internet, or is it only in
all
person?
all of the above. I have lots of clients that do not live locally, and I use the beauty of the interweb.
Nice.
And I have an online meeting room just like you do.
Yeah, yeah.
And I meet clients. And so I like to work with people, usually starting for 3 months with the health coaching. We set very specific, tangible goals, and we meet every other week for 3 months. Between the meetings, we check in, and you get like meal plans and recipes and handouts and all that good stuff to keep you motivated and inspired. I also do my yoga mentorship program locally and online as well. And so that's kind of more for the serious yoga practitioner who's ready to take it a bit deeper and talk more about philosophy and lifestyle and all things yoga, and also for the teacher who is looking to refine their voice and to polish up their teaching, and have a mentor. I mean, I have a yoga teacher who I see. She's out of the country right now for like every year she goes for like 3 or 4 months, but I go and see her once a month. I think that all of us, no matter what level we are in our professions, need support.
Totally.
And it's so important to have somebody overseeing you. And really, it's not necessarily what they're bringing to the table, but it's your commitment to yourself and therefore what you bring to the table, and somebody to, be your cheerleader and call you out when you need to be called out.
Yeah. And I think there's always something great about always trying to improve yourself or just be a better version of yourself, and then see that from your mentor as well.
Totally.
So if
And
someone,
change will really happen.
yeah.
It
So if
really
someone
happens.
wanted to connect with you, how could they do so?
Well, lots of ways. You could go to my website. It's wholehealthlab.com. And that's whole WHOLE. I'm relatively right now not as active as normal, but I am very active on Instagram. It's Whole Health Lab, and on Facebook. My email is wholehealthlab@gmail.com. So, and then my phone number you'll find on my email. On my website, and then you can just always call me too.
Okay, perfect. And I will add that to the show notes. Now let's end with a tip to encourage women who are in the arena fighting for the life that they want.
A tip?
A
Keep
tip.
going. You're doing great.
I love it.
They're in the arena. Keep going. You're already there. Yeah, right. I think that a more tangible tip would be to find a practice that supports you. I don't care if that's you're running, you go to CrossFit, you have yoga, mindfulness. Let me say this, let some piece of your practice be mindfulness, where you really have the opportunity to sit as the witness and watch any self-limiting beliefs that arise, so that you can start to breathe them out and trust yourself. You've got it.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I've enjoyed having you on the show, and you've been a total badass.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll end our show. To all the badass women out there staying in the arena, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, own it and get after it.
Now that you've listened to this episode of Ordinary to Badass, we want to hear from you. Go to our website, ordinarytobadass.com/podcast, and submit your own experience on how you took your life from ordinary to badass, and get the chance to be on a future spotlight episode of the show. That's ordinarytobadass.com/podcast. While you're waiting for the next episode of the show, wipe off the sweat, dust off the dirt, and get back in the arena.